Welcome to Sanctum. You're listening to The 100 Podcast, a show about CW sci-fi series, The 100. I'm Daniel Prime.
Hallowed be his name.
And today I'm joined by my one crew warrior, Olga.
Hey everybody, today we're discussing the highs, the lows, and our overall feelings on Season 6.
Yes, the season of blood.
Well, that was more last season.
The season
with
of
Blood
Sanctum.
Reina. Yes.
So this is our final podcast of the year. It's both going to go up on video on youtube.com/DoingOK, and then eventually on audio. Go to any of our audio services, search for The 100 Podcast, go to 100podcast.com. It'll go up on audio maybe a few hours after video.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Olga she's putting on the hosting pants for the rest of this video.
It's me, the host of the show. Co-host no more. Anyway.
So that's because he has the outline.
Yeah. So excuse me if I'm being rude to our viewing fans. I'm going to be looking at this phone.
Yep.
All right. So let's start with this. What was effective about the season? So we're actually going to be kind of jumping back and forth between effective and not effective, like doing the criticism sandwich thing.
Yeah. So basically, so we have a list of what's effective, what our criticisms are, and then we have a little bit of feedback for later in the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive in. So the first thing that we have that was effective were the primes themselves.
Me. It's all about me. Daniel Prime.
Anyway, basically we just said their plot, the mythology, the individual character motivations of the primes, and the characters themselves.
Yeah. I think that honestly, when we went through this list and we made it, right, I came back and I was like, man, I feel like this sounds more negative than I actually am about the season overall. And the thing is that I think what worked really well about the season was the primes and their stuff. Now we're going to get into some criticisms, and there's obviously some issues with mythology and all that stuff, especially near the end. But overall, I think the primes were well handled. I like all the actors involved. I think specifically Russell and Josephine were awesome antagonists.
So good. I would say that there were no primes that were all in all missteps, if that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, we didn't really get to know all of them or whatever, but even so, all of the incarnations of them that we saw seemed great. Yeah. They all seemed to be playing the same characters. And they were just very likable, or at the very least likably unlikable. Yeah. They were all kind of, again, appropriately motivated.
Yeah. There was nobody that I was like, oh, I don't want to watch them, specifically within the primes.
Right.
And I think,
even Riker.
Yeah. Yeah. Riker, I thought they overall handled pretty well.
Yeah.
I think, again, I think it was a great season for guest actors. They had a lot of great people playing the various Josephines, the various Russells, the various Priyas, all that stuff. They had a lot of people pop in and make their mark, and I think they did a good job. I think Josephine is my favorite antagonist of the entire series.
She's incredible.
Yeah. She's really good.
So good.
I still want them to find a way to bring that actress back somehow.
I'm going to miss her.
Yeah. So I think she's awesome. I think we put on there that the comedy was better this season, partially because of the primes and Josephine. But I also think Murphy and Raven and Clark and all that's there were a lot of people adding to the comedy. Yeah,
there were some good comedic moments, but the thing is the primes, all in all, until the end, they seem very lighthearted. And arrogant, and in that arrogance comes humor. Yeah. Because it's nothing can really get me down for long.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
What did you want to say as far as a criticism involved with that?
That's at the top of the criticisms list. It's the adjustment protocol itself.
And the adjusters, I think.
Yeah, I consider them part of the protocol. Yeah. But that kind of whole thing that felt very last minute, because it was in the finale. Unfortunately, I feel like the finale itself is going to kind of be
poisoning things, poisoning the well a little bit.
Yeah. Or poisoning the wells. Jaha.
Oh my God, that was really just atrocious. And I think you're kicked out of the Prime Club.
I know. I'm just a simple one crew warrior. Anyway. Yeah, just the whole thing of the monks last minute. I mean, none of those actors seem bad. Yeah. But it was just a very weird sidestep, and unfortunately also means that the existence of one of the monk people, priests, going into next season is also just like a sadness.
Yeah. Well, what do you think that the fact that they still have some of that going on?
Yeah.
I think I think we could say as a criticism of the Prime story is the fact that it isn't over and that it feels like it kind of gets flopped to the end, flopped to the finish in a way with the way Russell was handled. But like, I mean, we'll see what they do with him next season. But either way, I still feel like we didn't get like the right kind of season closure with him.
No, I mean, it's like there are too many mind drives still
at play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that they weren't destroyed, the posts are just kind of floating out in space is also maybe a loose end.
I'll say, though, that like, so beyond just the Primes themselves, I really do feel like the mythology around them, for the most part, worked really well, and that they unraveled the plot in a way that was interesting. The way they used the mind drives, the creepiness of the reliquary, all the stuff with the oblation. I think the using of the offering grove to sort of cull the genetic pool. And also to further their like godlike status. I think the way they built this cult of personality and the mythology of the show worked really well.
Exactly. Just again, our characters even say like they're immortal. Isn't that godlike? You know, it is a nice merging of this belief, like of science and belief. Yeah. And again, we have that parallel to the Grounders on Earth as well, but it's like the next level of it because these people really restarted a society with just like embryos. So it's just kind of a cool, again, big fans of the backstory here.
Yeah, and I think that they did a good job of bringing in elements that felt fresh and having amazing moments like when they killed Clark and all that stuff. And I, obviously the first few episodes when you were learning about the world and the society and stuff, I thought there were lots of great elements visually and just character wise and everything. Cookie Man, all that stuff. But
Delilah's dad.
They managed to make, taking sort of aspects of the Mountain Men and also still, tying in our history of, like as much as I joke about Becca made literally everything on the show, tying it back to that while still feeling like a fresh thing. And also just I was glad after last season that it was a very sci-fi heavy season this year as opposed to just like, now we're fighting about blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I'm ready to move on to our next positive. And that is Miss Eliza Taylor.
Morley,
maybe. Mrs. Eliza Taylor.
Morley,
maybe.
she's the bomb.
She's the bomb.com, actually.
This is, again, I think there's been a lot of good seasons for actors. I still think this is probably one of the best seasons for all the actors. And Eliza just did an awesome job. She was so much fun to watch. As Clark, as Josephine, as Josephine pretending to be Clark, as Clark
pretending to be Josephine. So good. Yeah. I mean, it was just really nice getting her as a real focus of the show in a very directly likable way.
Yep.
Even if it's, again, when it's Josephine in control, because it's just like, you love to hate her because she's so charismatic.
Yep.
So... And I'm just really proud of our girl.
Yeah.
Real proud.
She did a really good job. And it's funny in a season that is so like flashy with the minds and the multiple characters and stuff. I still think probably her most impressive acting was in the finale when she was just showing how heartbroken Clark was.
Yeah.
So she was awesome. There's a lot of great acting in this season. I think Bob had some good stuff. I think Marie had some good stuff.
Yeah. Don't spoil it.
Yeah.
Don't spoil our list.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. Eliza did incredibly well. It made me excited to see her as a character. However, talking about that character.
Well, why don't we tie also the Nevermind to the next thing on the positive is Nevermind.
It is Nevermind overall. So we really didn't have that many criticisms about Nevermind.
Well, so the positive is I think Nevermind is one of the best episodes of the show.
Ever.
The negative is that we feel like Clark's arc was kind of derailed by Abby's death. And that in some ways the promises of Nevermind I felt like were never totally fulfilled by the end of the season.
Yes.
I still think that this season did an awesome job of bringing back history of the show, bringing back old characters, really having them you know, to a certain degree, I do feel like characters face their demons. I don't know if they overcame them is the bigger problem.
That wasn't part of the promise of the tagline. That was just face your demons. That's all they promised us. I mean, so here's what Nevermind introduced such an interesting new mechanic, again, of sci-fi.
Yep.
And it was a really cool way to like film and frame the show and bring back people. So it was overall enjoyable to watch and experience.
Yeah.
The only thing that was more, again, on retrospect, at least for me, was of Nevermind specifically, is just like Clark not necessarily choosing life for a reason that actually is aligned with facing your demons. Yeah.
Well, even if it's not about like her choosing life, I think the problem set up in the first half of Nevermind is lack of self-worth.
Yeah.
And overwhelming guilt and feeling like you just ruin things for everyone around you.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like this season ever got us to her overcoming that problem. Now, obviously, like, there's still another... TV is a lot harder to criticize than movies in a way, right? Because there's still another season. But they definitely, with the tagline of Face Your Demons, set up that, like, okay, she'll go into the final season having...
overcome
overcome those demons. And yes, that she'll still be faced with hard choices in the final season so that she doesn't make the same mistakes again, right?
Right.
But she won't be this sort of mess who like lets Raven walk all over her and Murphy walk all over her.
Yeah.
You know, like,
but then when she has to float her mom, like, how is that going to happen?
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I guess they just really derailed what I think was this. She never managed to finish the arc because before she got there, it was just like, okay, now you're dealing with something else. And I think that was pretty unfortunate.
Yes.
So what do you want to just continue by talking about Abby and Kane?
Yes, actually, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Sorry, I'm backseat hosting.
You are. I guess we're both co-hosts now. Anyway, I mean, our next criticism is Abby and Kane's death. Deaths. That's the other thing. Their death feels very
joint.
Yes. Just feeling kind of mishandled on top of feeling conjoined.
I mean, we talked a lot about Kane and how I felt like it was just a suicide that they weren't calling suicide, that they were making him seem like a martyr that I didn't agree with, and that it felt like almost like a waste of time. I don't know. Like it
really did feel, honestly, to me, like if Henry Ian Cusick wanted off the show.
Yeah.
And also his story didn't really contribute much of anything, that they should have just had him die after coming back to life for that little bit.
They should have had him die in the premiere.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he sees the new planet and he's like, wow, it's a new start. It's a new hope. And then Octavia comes in and like berates him and Abby. And then he like goes into arrest. Like, he shouldn't have survived that, honestly.
I also think that could have led to a very interesting arc for Abby and Octavia. For her, we could create a lot of anger from Abby towards Octavia for that, and for Octavia to feel extra guilt, which she was obviously feeling anyway, and to try to have them sort of reconcile by the end of the season in some way, and have them both sort of admit their faults and all that stuff. I think could have been a much more interesting arc.
And frankly, in some ways also maybe speed up Abby and Raven's reconciliation too, by not having like Abby again being refocusing her addictive attentions to this kind of lost-ish cause, so to speak. I mean, again, it's very easy to, speaking of backseat hosting, backseat writing.
Very easy. Everything's better in hindsight.
But it's just like, so that's the one thing where I'm like, we didn't really need... Kane's death really wasn't as noble as I think they told us.
Well, especially when you look at like what it accomplished now that we definitely know for sure, it accomplished absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
They still led to all this fighting and all this killing, and like nobody was like, oh, well, I guess we can't make Nightblood. Like, like they still made Nightblood. They still used people.
They still harvested.
They still have the adjustment protocol.
And now, so we talked a lot about Kane, talking about Abby. I mean, I don't know how much we want to get into this meta-narrative here, so to speak, but it really did just kind of feel like, all right, Kane's dead. Abby can be done now.
Yeah, his girlfriend can die too. Which obviously not a look that you want to be having.
No.
And, there was a recent interview with Paige that kind of semi-confirmed that there was like, they didn't know what to do with me after that. And it's also interesting in the hindsight of, sorry.
No, I'm like, that kind of sucks.
Well, yeah. But also in addition to that, it's interesting that we know that she's the one who came up with the drug storyline for last season. So like, it's been a while since it seemed like they knew what to do with her. So, her
being relegated to being like as much screen time as like Miller or Jackson potentially would not be a good
look either. Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like her character was ready for that amount of screen time, so to speak. But I'm not like, I'd rather that than her be dead.
Yeah.
But that might not feel good for her as an actress either.
Well, yeah. I mean, also she's second billed and all that. Like, it's like, the thing is, I think the problem is that I know a lot of people fell in love with her, and I know, like, I don't want to, not talk about the fact that a lot of people loved her specifically because she was a strong middle-aged woman on a sci-fi show, and that you don't get a ton of that, especially ones that, live on and have good arcs and all that stuff.
Right.
And I think that's, like, I totally get that, and that's super valid. At the same time, I just feel like, to a certain degree, we've been conditioned that the hero's journey is that they move beyond their parents, and, so, like, to me, it's like, they've been so beyond needing the adult side of the show for so long. Like, that was the whole point of the first season, was to have that dichotomy of, or like separation of like the Lord of the Flies kids down here and the people who put them there. Yeah. And like having them wrestle with that in season 2, I thought was good. But by the end of season 2, it's like, Clark is significantly better than her mother in like every way. So like,
I would say honestly, season 3 is the one where it's like, we've truly become the leaders that our parents kind of raised us to be, and at the very least are on their level and can't really be questioned anymore on our skills. And then season 4, they kind of repeat that. It's like actually putting them in those positions, like Clark in the list, and again, she still sort of talks to Jaha and gets his advice and whatever. But truly, with season 5, Clark becomes a mom.
Yeah.
And Bob is in his, like, Bellamy is firmly in his 30s at that point. It's like they're not the young adults that they used to be.
I mean, I guess you could say, well, it's like, but there are still stories for grandmothers and stuff like that.
There
and
are,
that's true.
But they didn't want to write them.
Yeah, I mean, and then you can argue about whether that's good or bad, but like, I feel like her and Kane's initial purposes on the show had run their course. Right. Now, could they have found a new purpose for them? I think probably. Yeah. But, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could argue also her purpose was supposed to be the person who made sure that we deserve to stay alive, right? But she had just gone so far off of that course that,
it just wasn't that anymore.
But I mean, this thing is, you could argue that Abby just hasn't been handled well for seasons at this point, and that's a whole other sort of can of worms. But
unfortunately, yeah. So there's no like real silver lining to this, in my opinion.
I mean, I guess here's my silver lining, and it's not necessarily, people can debate it or whatever. My silver lining is a character that they didn't know what to do with is gone. And it's better to have that character be gone than have them flailing around trying to find something to do with them just for the sake of keeping the actor around. Yeah. I don't know.
Said, I mean, I hope Paige enjoyed herself getting to play a different character, because even though it was kind of heartbreaking, it was also sort of enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, Simone stuff,
yeah. So actually, I guess that's my silver lining. Yeah. All right, let's go back to more positives. Cheer things up. And for us, it was the Red Sun mechanism.
Well, I guess I think that episode, right?
Yeah, the parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Or mostly 2.
Yeah, mostly 2. Yeah. I think that was a great episode for having people face their demon sort of stuff. I think there was some good stuff from Murphy there, some great stuff from Clark there. I also, in that episode, I liked the stuff happening on the ship where we had Maddie and Raven and Dioza.
Oh my God, I forgot that was that episode. Yeah. That was really great.
Yeah. So there was a lot of good things a lot of great single episodes this season, especially in the first half.
Yes. Felt super promising. And speaking of Raven, Raven was great in that episode. She was great in the finale.
Yeah.
And the penultimate episode too. Everything else, not so much.
The only thing to say about Raven on a positive note is that by the end they got her back on track, I think.
Right.
But yeah, she was very unwatchable this season to me for the majority of it. And
she was just so preachy, and it's like okay to have again the character that Abby used to be of let's be the people who deserve to survive.
Yeah.
But she wasn't being that person. She was just being annoying.
Yeah. The problem was maybe you could say she was being that person, but she wasn't being Monty, who's someone who actually comes
tried to live.
Yeah, but also comes up with solutions instead of just yelling at people.
Yeah. So that's Raven.
Yeah.
Going back to the positive characters, especially positive female characters, our favorite buddy cops.
Dioza and Octavia.
Hell yeah.
They were great together. I think that they had such amazing chemistry as actors. Great dialogue. Dioza also had a lot of good comedy early on.
Yes.
I think that she was what Octavia needed to sort of help me get back on board with that character. And also for her, within her character, she needed that. I think it was a good way to sort of start building up that whole hope dynamic that we saw by the end.
Right.
And I just think that they were really good. I missed Dioza when she was gone for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely, again, and maybe to me that's another weak point of the second half of the season is I missed Dioza.
Yeah.
But
that kind of is what it is.
It is what it is, and it gave more screen time for Octavia really feeling like her redemption is real and earned.
Yeah. I mean, you can certainly poke holes in Octavia's journey this season, but I think overall,
I don't want to.
They had a great episode with the Pike stuff. I think Pike did such a great job.
Yeah.
And I like her being back on positive terms with Bellamy and all that stuff.
The scene in the mushroom cave was really great.
Yeah.
And that was a great Bob Morley scene too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it was nice having the Blake siblings back together by the end of the season.
Yeah.
I was so doubting how they'd pull this off. And I think they did.
And I mean, I will say, I think now that I'm a few weeks separated, right, from the whole anomaly shenanigans and all that stuff, I am excited to see the flashbacks of Octavia's first time in there and where that part of her journey was and all that stuff. So,
yeah. That's going to be exciting. All right. Now, things that didn't work so much. Or at least a thing that I think we're sad about is kind of the dropping of the Bellamy and Clark plot. Yeah,
and why don't we actually also throw in the Beko thing that's right underneath that too, and we'll talk about both.
Basically, we said dropping the Bellark plot. Yeah. And another negative being that Beko, Bellamy and Eko, exist as a relationship still despite zero development. Yeah, so I guess I would say the relationship dynamics on this season, I think that it was clear to anyone who has eyes that, and ears, honestly. You don't need eyes. All you need is a way of experiencing the show. As much as Jason wants us to say that we misinterpreted and Bellamy was trying to save everyone this season, it was clear that the arc for the season was Bellamy trying to save Clark and realizing how much she meant to him and that he needed her. And he literally says that. And we see the amount of emotion that goes into all of that and how separate and different it is than any sort of emotion that he shows Eko, his canon girlfriend. And just the buildup of that and the fact that Clark actually died and they didn't have any sort of talk about their feelings. Yeah. I just think was a huge missed opportunity and such a it felt to me like Bellamy's arc just ended, and it was just nothing. And I don't know. Again,
it's, it is what it is. But again, if they didn't want that, if they thought we misinterpreted or whatever, then just throw in something to make it clear that this is a familial connection or whatever. And also develop the hell out of Bellamy and Eko if you really want us to care about that couple, because they had one somewhat solid scene together in the whole season.
Yeah. And it was like, a misunderstanding about her not knowing how to like express emotion, if I recall correctly. And also in episode 3, like, damn. So going to a positive that we had about Eko, her flashback. So seeing little Eko, aka Ash, that was much needed. Like, we've wanted Eko flashbacks.
I just almost, like, if I hadn't known ahead of time that they were coming, I think I would have loved this even more. But I feel like, it's part of the problem when you do go to conventions and also, like, read interviews and stuff, is you build things up in your head. And I was like, if I'm looking back on it now, like, I thought those were cool flashbacks, and I'm glad we got them.
Singular.
But, but
that's the problem I have with it. Maybe it was her messed up expectations. But when we hear flashbacks, plural, it makes it sound like more than one was recorded, and they only ended up using this one. And to me, after like, there was this tension between Eko and Bellamy about like her not knowing how to let people in, and then you just get one thing and you find out she has taken over someone's identity this whole time, and the person who knows this is Riker. It's just like
kind of weird,
a little bit like, okay, she's revealed the secret, she's let it out, it's therapeutic for her. But then it doesn't go anywhere. I mean, it just feels like a little bit of info about her. But again, she didn't really have much to do with it. She had some more cool moments, but like, it's still like, we're 2 seasons into her being one of the quote unquote good guys, right? And a main love interest.
Yeah, and like, what have they done with it? Like, I like Tasia, but like, what are they doing there? Right. I think, the more we're talking, I'm like, I think it's a tough thing because I love Clark so much, and I like when you see, like, obviously I think there's something to be said about like a huge part of why Nevermind works so well is because Clark is the character that probably works better than any other character on the show. But to a certain degree, I think that they are doing themselves a disservice by not having character-centric episodes. Like, when I thought about the flashbacks, like, hearing ahead of time, I was like, it's going to be an Eko episode. And it's like, she got a little bit more than usual, but, like, it was she got 10 minutes. Like, like, it was, I think that they could use some more of that. But
they could. They could.
Anywho's it.
At least convince us. I forgot that I was steering. Sorry. I'm a great driver. All right. So, speaking of characters that actually we feel did get great development, Gaia.
Yes, Gaia. Let's do Gaia and Amori. Both of them, I think, just had very nice little moments throughout the season. They weren't like really front and center, but Gaia definitely had a good arc here, and Amori just had consistently good moments.
Gaia had a good journey with, like, again, we kind of knew who she was with her belief and being Maddie Seda, and then at the end being like, I choose Maddie, not the flame. Like, that's a big deal.
I think they did a really good job. For again, she's still a pretty minor character in my eyes, but I think for a minor character, she was well handled.
I agree. And a character we weren't always like super convinced by either. And as for Amori, I mean, I've really enjoyed her in the past, but again, she really got to stand on her own, even like against Murphy this season, and that was really nice.
I think they did a pretty good job of, even though obviously she's connected with Murphy throughout the whole thing, they did a good job of not feeling like she's just the girlfriend, like she has her own mind, and that she might be steering him in directions, not just the other way around.
Exactly. Like last season, it's like, they're broken up, and oh my God. And by the end of last season, it's like, all right, obviously they're back together, but they've already had their major fight. So it was really cool how they balanced it this season of them not agreeing and her being, again, as you said, like guiding him morally in a way, or at least stepping away from the morals that she has with him and being her own person.
I think they did a good job with her.
And I mean, again, Murphy, he's always enjoyable to watch.
I think that he didn't get a perfect arc this season, but I think that he got an overall positive arc is what I would say. I think certain times I felt like he was more angry at Clark than I thought was earned. I think that he did darker things than sometimes were earned.
Right.
But overall, he felt pretty in character, and him getting to where he needs to be by the end makes sense. That he isn't, you have the dark character that redeems himself, but he still is who he is, right? And so I think playing with that, they did a pretty good job. And seeing where he's coming from to a certain degree, his whole engagement to Maury.
Oh my God, so cute. Yeah. I know I was just saying how much I like the non-shipping stuff between them, but come on. Oh, so adorable.
Yeah, that was great. And then I think him working with Josephine and all that stuff was good. I think the biggest issue is that random hell vision that just was such a plot device that we never even saw what it was.
I wish we got to see what he saw.
Yeah.
All right, now moving off of these three great characters.
Let's get to our favorite character, other than Jade, who isn't even on the list.
Jade is neutral because she's ineffective. This guy was effectively terrible, and it's Shadehedda.
What more is there to say about Shadehedda?
Mr. Slim Shady himself.
One of the greatest characters in all of fiction.
So you were saying how Josephine is the best villain or anti-hero on the show. Shadehedda is absolutely the worst.
Yeah.
Somehow worse than McCreary.
Yeah.
And McCreary, Graveyard McCreary, is just the silliest. He led to the end of the world.
Yeah.
And that was so dumb.
Yeah, and
but
I don't even...
Shadehedda is dumber.
Yeah, I don't love some of the villains from season 2 either, but Shadehedda is just such a nothing. And because I think the problem is that on top of him having nothing I can empathize with, no motivation that's interesting, no charisma, on top of all of that, he's just doing things that make zero sense. So it's just how the heck is he in control of all this shit? Which we've talked plenty about. I don't need to keep going on about
Yeah,
Shadehedda.
And I think we have some feedback that touches on it. Shadehedda's dumb, and the only great parts of him was when Maddie
was cool.
Was playing, really embodying him.
I wonder, and I don't think so, but it's somewhat rare that I think the fandom is as universally against something critically as they are Shadehedda. as universally against something that isn't shipping related, right?
Yeah.
And so I think for the writers, they can be shippers, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to ignore them. Do you think there's any possibility that they will take any of the criticism into anything?
I think yes, unfortunately, which in some ways I'm stand by your stuff.
No, that's not how I feel at all.
No. The thing is, they paint it, in my feelings, it's it'll be such a loose thread if they don't address Shadehedda.
They need to address it, but
I don't want to see him again. No, I don't want him to possess anything.
I think, the more I think about it, I'm no, they need to finish his plot line. What they just need to do is put a lot more effort into making him better going forward.
Which, the only way I can see that happening is him possessing another, powerhouse actor.
Yeah, which I think is certainly possible, but you need to also write some backstory for him that's actually interesting. You have to... you have to do something. You can't just... My point is, with the criticism I hope they take to heart is how, we screwed it up. How can we fix it? As opposed to, let's just keep going on in the direction that we've been going.
Yeah. Okay, so do we want to finish off on another negative character and then end with a positive?
What's the other negative? I don't even know what it is.
Mr. Jordan, Casper Green.
I
said it. Let's do it.
We don't have to talk about it that much. I think they didn't handle his arc very well this season. I don't really figure he had an arc this season. He ended in a place that was semi-interesting. He had some good lines, but just again, I would also honestly, I would almost put Jordan as neutral, but I certainly wouldn't put him as positive.
And that's a shame because we were so on board with Monty and Harper's son, at the beginning of the season, that now it's all right, now he's going to be this brainwashed bro in season 7.
I think that's the reason I ended up putting him in the negative is because of the potential that he had and the potential that actor provided, because I thought the actor was great too. And I just feel the fact that I have no feelings anymore about that character are not, they didn't handle that well.
It's missed potential. Yeah. This thing has 3 question marks next to it, so I don't know if it actually belongs in effective or criticism.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Okay.
What what do we do with the anomaly?
I am going to put it in effective. I have thought about it more, and while I wish that things had gone in a slightly different direction, and while I do think some of the things they've done are silly, like the stone and the calling and the magic tree sap and all that stuff, overall, I am excited about the anomaly because it's something markedly different.
Yeah.
And I don't know where it's going, and I want to know. So overall,
fair enough.
I'm interested.
Fair enough. I'm willing to buy into it.
Yeah.
I like the potential for flashbacks because I kind of miss them.
Yeah.
I love it when they're there. So let's give me some Octavia flashbacks, and I'll take your time misbehaving.
Yeah, we'll see. That's the thing. It's just like, no matter what, I think the reason I'm interested is because it feels like it's going to create a different kind of season, and I don't want it to just be another season of the same stuff. So,
all right. That's it with our highs and lows, effective and not so much.
So, I mean, overall, what are your feelings on the season? Because we really liked it.
It's still a good season. Yeah. I still see myself enjoying rewatching it. Yeah. Unfortunately, it just kind of to me feels very unfinished, and so my feelings about it are unfinished.
I still think it's in the top half of the seasons on the show. But, I feel like it ultimately ended up feeling like a season 6, which is what I was hoping it wouldn't do.
Yeah.
We're
running out of
we're things. Still better than season 5. But I would still say it's the best season since season 3 at least.
Yeah. All right, so let's do our rankings then, young man.
All right, so the rankings are always really difficult for me.
Same here.
For a few reasons. I think the biggest reasons are that season 3 gets a lot of a bad rap, but overall I really like that season. So I don't know where to put it because I understand people's anger with it.
Yeah.
Season 1 I think is tough to place because the first half of it I think is very subpar and is like the worst of the show. But it gets to some good places, and I like a lot of things that it accomplishes in that season. And then season 4, I'm always like, I feel like I'm more negative than I should be because it does have some good stuff, but
it does. It also spins its wheels.
Yeah, I would go my favorite being season 2, then I'm gonna say season 3. I know people don't agree. But I think that it actually has a ton of elements that I love. I actually really like a lot of the stuff with Pike. I love Allie stuff looking back.
Yeah.
I think that the messages and the metaphors and stuff that they did with the ship and the City of Light I thought were really interesting.
The more I think about it, it's also a really great Raven season.
It's a great Raven season. It's it's probably one of the weaker Clark seasons, I can admit that. But even that has like May You Live Forever with the Last Mountain Man.
Yeah.
And I like the Lexa stuff until she dies. Obviously, that's a big sore spot for a lot of people, and a lot of people don't like a lot of the Grounder mythology and stuff. I like that, especially how it ended up tying back with Becca and everything.
Right.
So I really like season 3. So I'd go season 2, season 3, season 6, season 1, season 5, season 4.
Whoa, you're putting 4 in last place?
Yeah, I don't like season 4.
All right.
I mean, I guess I should slightly explain that season 4 I just found was utterly boring.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagrry with you. Season 4 was really boring. Yeah. In a lot of things, it's like problem, solution, new problem. For me, it's 2 is the best. And that's the thing, even though it's the best, it's still flawed. So everything's on like a flaw curve still.
Well, it's like, I remember when we watched season 3, I was like, I actually think season 3 has higher highs than season 2, but it definitely has lower lows too.
So low.
Yeah.
Right. But for me, I think I'm going to have to go with 2, 3, 6. Again, 3 has problems, but 2, 3, 6, 4, 1, 5.
Yeah, I can buy that too.
Yeah. And I just feel like the highs in 1 were a lot better than the highs in 5.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I'm not going to put season 1 in last place.
Yeah. A lot of people really like season 1.
Yeah.
I'd be interested. You've never rewatched season 1, right? I'd actually be really interested to see you rewatch.
Well, maybe this time finally. I always say I'm going to rewatch the show before Conageddon.
Yeah.
gonna rewatch the show before
I think we should. I think it's time.
It's time.
Yeah.
It's been many years since I watched it.
Because I rewatched seasons 1 through 3 like a bazillion times, but then I haven't rewatched 4, 5, and 6. So.
Right.
All right. What's next?
All right. The next thing we have is what you titled, still backseat hosting, The Great Cancellation Conspiracy. And here's the thing, even though you titled it this, I actually wanted to talk about this.
Well, do you want to read the email real quick?
So actually, on that note, speaking of this email, you can contact us and give us your feedback for future episodes.
Nowhere, because we're done.
Future episodes of the podcast at The 100 Podcast on Twitter, the100podcast.com, or you can also, there's a contact us thing there.
Yep.
You can email us at the100pod@gmail.com. I'd say leave a comment down here on the video, but we're just going to reply to that. That's not going to get read out in like a year.
Yeah, I mean, in general, there's not a whole lot of reason to send us comments because I don't know that we'll be back until probably Cattigan, but
in April.
But I would love to get more comments about what people would like to see on the YouTube channel in the coming time. If they want to see us do another audio podcast, we've heard some people say, I want to say The Expanse, Orphan Black, a few other things. We'll let you know.
We like sci-fi.
Yeah.
But anyway. Oh, and also please review us on iTunes.
And thank you to those people that I listed.
And thank you to Tristan Ludlow. They pronouns are valid. And Kate_Mac_Booth. Thank you.
Thank you for your booth.
Right. So anyway, going back to this conspiracy theory.
Yes.
From Chuck via the100podcast.com. Chuck says, I was wondering your thoughts on what the point of the whole book 2 thing at the end of the last season is, if Jason intended to end the show after 7 seasons. And what is it that makes this season different from other seasons to the point that it constitutes a new book?
Yeah.
Well, Chuck, these are great questions.
So you brought this up because you were like, do we buy that Jason's the actual one who wanted to end it, or are they just saying it to be, but not saying it's canceled, right?
Yeah. You summarized it pretty well, but like exactly as this feedback puts it, why are they going? What is so special about ending book 1 where it is? And I'm like, well, it's because we've left Earth.
Yeah.
And that's the long and short of it. But we had 5 seasons on Earth.
Yeah.
And now we're only getting 2 on Sanctum.
Yeah. And Jason said something about book 2 being like a novella or something. It's a little bit BS. The thing is, I can understand people being like, oh, it's bullshit. Like, he clearly intended to have 5 more seasons or something, right?
Right, or at least maybe 3 more.
Yeah, I think it could go either way. I think that he kind of just thought it would be badass to put end of book 1, honestly. And it is, like, a major turning point. But, like, you could easily have put end of book 2 at the end of this one and been like, now we're going into the anomaly and it's a whole new ball.
But here's the thing. That would tell me 100% that they are like canceled. Yeah. That would tell me that more than I'm choosing to end it here. Yeah. Honestly, in some ways, I feel like it's column A and column B. Like, they might not get another season after 7. So isn't it better to just end it on your own terms than like risk getting canceled?
I might be naive, but I believe that he wanted it to be 7 seasons. And my reasoning for that is I think the anomaly sounds like an endgame kind of storyline. When you get into that, it sounds like you're getting into like the farthest sci-fi you're probably ever going to do. There's not much things that seem bigger than that necessarily. Again, we don't really know what exactly the anomaly is, but it seems like the biggest thing they've ever done, right?
But here's the thing, though. When you ended book 1, how I can't help but wonder how much they knew that the anomaly would be a thing in book 2. Like, I don't know if they knew that they were gonna tackle time travel-ish things in season 6.
I buy that they do. I believe that he has had the ending in mind for a long time, and I believe it involves the anomaly.
I just hope it doesn't feel
he's said
rushed.
for a long time that he knows what the ending is. Now,
Yes.
to be clear, do I believe that he knows like where every character ends and how they're going to get there? I don't think that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he had everything planned, but I feel like the anomaly was in the cards for a while.
Right.
I don't know. I guess I believe it. I believe it because it's CW, honestly. It's like, it can't be doing worse than In the Dark season 1's reviews were, like, ratings were, right?
Yeah.
Like, it still has a fan base. It still has people writing about it on websites in a way that they don't write about, like, half of CW shows.
That's true.
It has people, it
has a following, and we be small but mighty. But
and it's a summer show, so they can't exactly be expecting it. It's like they're just breaking it into summer programming. They can't be expecting it to be doing gangbusters.
And I think from what I've heard, it does well on Netflix.
Yeah,
so
I've heard it does very well on Netflix. So
yeah, I mean, call us naive, but until I thought about it a little more, I honestly was like, yeah, Jason chose to end it. Mm-hmm. You heard our first reactions on a podcast because you saw it on Twitter as we were recording. So it's just like,
I feel like I can't have any sort of like firm stance until we see A, how it ends, and B, whether there's actually a spinoff that actually happens. Because if there's a spinoff, I 100% believe it was his decision where he's just like, I don't want to be running both at once. I also 100% believe that he's just over it. Like, right? That like, he's like, I've been working on this for 6 seasons. I'm creatively exhausted. I don't want someone else taking over my baby. Like, he seems like he might be a bit of a control freak in that way. Like, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
And
Dan is also a control freak.
Yeah. I can see him being like, I want to work on something new now where people aren't yelling at me every 5 seconds. So like, not to say that they probably, I mean, no matter what, he's going to be yelled at for the rest of his life, but.
Sorry, Jason.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
To more feedback. Back. So this is from Sabrina Gardner via the100pod@gmail.com. I was on the lookout for Clark pulling another lever this season. Did you guys notice when she pulled the lever to float the primes? It wasn't as major as the other levers she pulled in the past, but nonetheless, a lever.
Yeah, we forgot to mention this. We should have mentioned this.
We mentioned it to each other.
Yeah.
We're just like, just destroying people.
Yeah, on the rewatch.
Yeah.
No, and it's a very similar lever.
It's a hard word.
Yeah, I think that was a weird call to me because it doesn't feel like it has a lot of significance as far as like.
I think it's just our token lever.
Yeah, it just kind of felt like a token. Like, yeah, obviously she did a really intense thing, but it didn't feel like it had a character significance. I feel like both, the lever in season 2 and the lever in the end of season 3 are both like very yes, it had. I guess it has a character significance in that like it hurts her,
right?
But it's not like she's making a big bold like I'm doing something different. She's not really doing better. She's just doing what she needs to do. So that's the whole thing. I always believed that this season would end with her pulling a lever that saves people. Or that like
that would have been a nice twist.
Or that like knocks everyone out so they can put them in jail instead of murder them. Like that's really where I thought this season was going to go.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah. Instead, she threw her mom's body into space.
Hot.
Polar opposites. Yeah. Anyway, this is from @someaccountname via Twitter. That's some account name. On your confusions about Shadeheada, is there a third party that's doing all this? I still firmly believe that it's Cattigan, who somehow controls the anomaly and everything that's happening in Sanctum, and who gave power to his son, Shady, once they landed on Sanctum. I don't think Shadeheada is Cattigan's son.
I think that it seems timeline-wise difficult
considering like Indra met Shadeheada as a child.
He could be like his grandson, or I don't know. I'd have to think about the math there. But either way, my bigger question to you is, do you even think Cattigan's going to be involved in the final season?
I still sort of feel like it's more of a spin-off kind of question.
Now that it doesn't seem like they're literally going to go back in time, which they still could. I don't really know.
They still could. They could still manipulate the anomaly.
We really don't know what's going on with that. But I don't think we're going to see him. I think he's going to be covered in a prequel.
Yeah.
It's possible that, after he killed Becca, they somehow found a spaceship and went to Sanctum. But even then, even if he was in the anomaly, it doesn't seem like the anomaly makes you immortal or anything, right? And it doesn't. And it seems like time. If we're assuming it's time dilation, then it's not like how would he have lived this long?
Yeah.
If anything moves faster there, so it's like, and again, anything's on the board because we have funky, crazy time going around. But I think that people put a lot more stock into him than the show meant to. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell, but I mean, my feeling is I hope it would just feel a little ridiculous if this cult leader guy showed up in the last season. I
mean, at the same time, if you're going for a final season baddie, right, it's like he is the one who's behind everything, kind of like, I think thematically would make sense, right?
I guess you're right.
Like he killed the first commander and became the second or whatever.
So they have to defeat him with the power of Becca's intelligence being in Raven's head?
Something. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
All right, so our next bit of feedback is from Jill via the 100pod@gmail.com. Jill's put some of her own pros and cons. So pros, Eliza's acting. Need I say more? She was amazing this season. Really enjoyed her playing Josie and thought she did a fantastic job. 2, I thought it started well. Episode 2 was a real highlight for me. Same. 3, better late than ever, but Raven eventually got something to do. And was more likable by the season finale. Also really enjoyed the Dioza and Octavia dynamic. Just a shame Dioza wasn't in half the season. Obviously, no one's fault. Cons. Number 1 is Shade Hedda.
Everyone's favorite.
No need to elaborate. Similar to if Eliza's a high, Shade Hedda's a low.
He's the anti-Eliza.
Not Clark, Eliza. 2, as mentioned, Eliza's acting was amazing, but I feel that the character of Clark has never quite got back to the level of awesomeness she's had in previous seasons, mainly season 2. And a common complaint is the pacing, but I actually felt this may have been the worst season for it, as I've never been as confused as I was this season. I feel like for us, it's 4. It's like the most pacing.
I don't know. I think season 5 had pacing issues too.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Season 3 had major pacing issues too with the whole Bellamy thing. I don't think this is the worst season for pacing. I actually thought it was pretty good-ish until it was really just the last 2 episodes. Like suddenly they added a bazillion things. So I'd say mostly I guess you could say that's the season pacing, but like honestly, they just should not have included all those things that they added in at the end.
Yeah. Next is weird writing choices. They definitely could have spent less time on stupid stuff no one cares about, aka the adjusters. And more time on having less plot holes or on character development. Another example is how unclear we all are on what's happening with the flame. See, that's on purpose, I think.
Well,
like the commanders are.
No, that's bad writing.
Maybe.
I mean, again, not knowing where they are or whatever, sure. Not having anybody ask about it or anybody try to come up with some sort of explanation or discussion on the show, that's bad writing.
Fair enough. Yeah. I agree. Wasting Tasia and demeaning her to just being Bellamy's girlfriend. I had high hopes for a flashback episode, but we literally got about 5 minutes, and it was cool to see Nia again, though. Yeah.
Very similar thoughts to us.
Yes. Yeah. The finale. I honestly think this is the worst finale they've done. Reasons previously discussed.
I don't know if I agree.
I don't know if it's the worst finale, but it wasn't fantastic.
It's definitely bottom 3.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I like how for us it's like a top half season, bottom 3 finale. As the Bell arc, all the Bell arc, will they, won't they, BS. Either make it happen or be clear it isn't going to. It baffles me how they've handled this. Are they trying to piss off half of their fan base? I'm so bored of it.
Gotta say, I did not copy this email when I made my outline, but it sounds like it.
Yeah. We did not plagiarize you, Jill. Yeah. All right, so the rest of our feedback is coming from our Contact Us forum at the100podcast.com. So our first feedback is from Maddie. Oh, shit, we're in trouble. Oh, okay, maybe not. I've had so many different thoughts and feelings on season 6, but the simplest way I can describe the season is it feels like they filmed an unrevised rough draft.
I'd say it could certainly have used a few more edits. I'd say it's on like they did draft 2, but they needed maybe 2 more after that.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, or like maybe the first half they finished, and then the second half they're like, oh shit, I still have to turn in that paper. Let's do it overnight.
The conclusion. paragraph is like 3 sentences long, and all the body paragraphs were like a full page.
Yep.
Next piece is from Rebecca. Just finished listening. I'm so sorry. Just finished listening to your Blood of Sanctum review, and I'm curious as to why you think Gabriel can live without the mind drive. Josephine only survived because she connected with the alley chip. Or the neural mesh, I guess.
Yeah.
Whenever the mind drive is removed, the Prime is already dead. Even with the flame, it couldn't be removed from the commander unless they were dead. Unless the release word is given, which Maddie never gave. To me, it seems like removing a mind drive while the host was alive would kill the host. Hence, the reason they needed to kill Clark before removing Josephine's mind drive. Love the podcast. Thanks. Also, if you want to see more J.R. Bourne, a.k.a. Russell, he was in Teen Wolf, and in season 3, Dylan O'Brien did an amazing job of playing 2 different characters, similar to what Eliza did this season.
Oh.
Okay.
I think that was us being stupid, the whole Gabriel thing. The only argument I guess I could have is I thought that what it was supposed to be was that once the mind drive backed you up, but then your mind went into the body.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah, so I was like, once it's in the body, but your consciousness can only be in one place at a time. I to a certain degree, this is all a little bit confusing.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter at this point.
Sorry, Rebecca. I'm not sure if you've convinced me that we've got this wrong.
But you might be right, and we might be wrong.
Whoops. Anyway, next is from NJ. Hey guys, thanks for replying to me on the 613 podcast. For me, this season definitely ranks among the top 3. However, I noticed this season had the most casting issues / weird choices. I was sad Indra barely got to appear in 3 episodes this year. It's her lowest number of episodes per season by far. Yep. I would have loved to see her interact with Octavia considering how things left off in season 5. I totally missed that. Yeah. I know Adina is on American Horror Story, but she's been there since 2016. While we're on the subject, why isn't she a series regular? On
American Horror Story?
That's a great question.
More importantly, why is that still a show? Anyway.
Controversial. The thing that hurt the Shady storyline so badly for me was that we didn't get to see how Shady blocked all the other commanders like Lexa, the latest resident, and Becca, the creator of the flame, not to mention every piece of tech introduced on the show. It makes all of them look weak or lazy. Clearly, Erica Serra was available to appear on the show since she did a cameo as Allie. They flew her to Vancouver. They might as well have used her more.
Yeah, I don't think that was a casting thing. I think that was we don't want to explain this thoroughly thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sean Maguire, who plays OG Russell, only appeared in 2 flashbacks. Sean Maguire is a relatively well-known actor. Once Upon a Time fans, anyone? Mm-hmm. And I expected to see a lot more of him. Same here, honestly. J.R. Bourne was fantastic as Russell, but a few more flashbacks would have been nice.
Yeah, I was a little surprised too.
Yeah. Lastly, Jordan's vanishing act for 5 episodes only to come back brainwashed was so weird. What was his arc here? He fell in love with a lady. He was sad when she died. He then got stabbed and came back brainwashed. It feels like something got cut. Maybe Shannon had another project, but aren't series regulars obligated to be available during production?
Maybe he had a family problem.
Or maybe they just intended this.
Yeah, I really don't know.
I'm feeling less like this was...
Or maybe this is how they saved money. Like they said, we're making you a series regular, but we're only going to contract you for this many episodes or something.
Maybe.
I mean, I do think budget has been a major issue.
I agree.
Which, again, I guess you could add into the CW conspiracy theory. But, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I know J-Roth doesn't have full control over all this stuff. I still think he managed to make a wonderful season out of these circumstances. What do you think? Also, another podcast suggestion, Orphan Black. I am trying to get Dan to watch it.
I do want to watch it. Maybe it will make a cameo appearance in a video I'm working on soon.
Oh, teaser, not spoiler, teaser for youtube.com/DoingOK.
Yeah.
But anyway, as for, I don't think any of us really have firm answers to the mysteries of casting this show.
Not that you're going to say the mysteries of Jason Rothenberg.
I kind of was going to say that, but I was like...
The mysteries of Jason Rothenberg.
That's going to be like...
Should I do like a parody, like
American Vandal thing?
Yeah, where I'm like talking about like, how can one man have made all of these mistakes?
Oh my God.
It's not possible. There must be 30 different writers.
I think there are 30 different writers.
All pretending to be Jason Rothenberg. Yeah, anyway.
He has triplets. He is a triplet.
He has triplets.
Congratulations, Jason. You now have 3 identical children.
Jason Rothenberg secretly has triplets, and that's why he hasn't had time to write good plots.
Bobby Newport.
So, I think that's the end, yes, dear?
It is the end. Oh my goodness.
All right. And so, we say goodbye to you for many moons. But maybe we'll do stuff. Keep your eyes peeled
on the feed.
The couple places. At the 100 podcast on Twitter, at DoingOK video on Twitter. That's DoingOK. Also YouTube.com/DoingOK. That's DoingOK. I will have at least 1, if not 2 or 3 videos every week on that channel, usually about television. Olga will often pop her little head in. What do we got coming down the line? I'm working on some video essays. I think I have 2 in the pipeline.
They're good uns.
Goodens, she says. And I also, let's see, what are we talking about?
We went to the Boston Comic Con Fan Expo, so you got a couple panels there.
iZombie and Boy Meets World panels are going up soon.
Yeah.
I got a Harry Potter quiz game thing that I'm doing with some pals. We got some fun stuff percolating. All right, guys. Thank you for staying with us this season and dealing with me.
And me.
Yes. May we meet again.
May we meet again.